The 2000s remake boom, the gold rush if you will, shifted the opinion from mostly curiosity or indifference to all-out hatred. The animosity towards remakes back then was wild. Some deserving, some not. But money talks and the movie business shifted. More than 2 decades later, we've mostly resigned ourselves to basically the late stage of dying. Acceptance. And John Carpenter is no stranger to this himself, but of all of the remakes of his work, The Fog stands as the most egregious, dare I say, the worst ever produced. Our own Tyler Nichols put his money on Elm Street, but for me, it has to be The Fog.
Nice hearing from you, Carlos.
Rupert Wainwright's interpretation of Carpenter's film demonstrates why the remake boom gets so much shit. Somewhat protected by the choice of tackling one of the director's more cult classics. Imagine if this was They Live or Escape from New York, and why, honestly, you hear far more about Rob Zombie's Halloween when this is far more insulting than that. The Fog is the epitome of misunderstanding the source material.
It killed him. The fog killed him.
I know how this sounds, okay?
Yeah, it's a really good thing you found this.
It's still ticking.
Wasn't ticking before.
John Carpenter's The Fog is a deliberately straightforward ghost story. Coming off of the success of Halloween, his intention was to make a movie where atmosphere was the driving force of fear, world building with an ensemble cast and a deliberate pace. One that surely is of its time, but The Fog was a slow burn that Carpenter wanted to explore. I mean, take the first night. We see each section of town wake up, an ominous warning that things are no longer the same. It sets up his intention of a story driven by atmospheric tension and minimalist storytelling. The 2005 version is the exact opposite. And why work within the slow build parameters of a haunted seaside town, when we could just get to the point, fill it with action, and put a heavy focus on the ghosts itself? Everything here is fashioned without any sort of passion. We start with a jump scare, make sure to rev up the audience, and we're off to the races. Carpenter and Hill's story is a simple one. Its effectiveness isn't so much in the violence of the ghosts, which, were reshoots anyhow, but lies within Carpenter's composition and Cundy's beautiful cinematography. Again, it's a vibe movie. The fisherman scene is the perfect contrast of how this fails its source material. So the fog rolls in, right? Elizabeth Dane shows up and the fishermen die. Same basic scene in 2 movies. Now, of course, in the remake, we're going to swap out the fisherman for an awkward 4-person party. That doesn't make any sense, but whatever. And the idea for the scene is the same. But why does the original work here? The tension builds gradually as George Buck Flower and company notice the unnatural fog rolling in. We get a great shot of them actually getting the first look at the Dane. This plays with the idea of impending doom, only these drunks are off the clock and couldn't be bothered. We hang out and everything feels natural as the fog surrounds. The 2005 version fully leans into the CGI, making the fog more intense, more aggressive, while Carpenter and Hill interpreted it as more of a warning. Writer Cooper Lane uses the fog as an entity in itself. Here the buildup is faster, and the scare is of the actual fog doing, ghost shit. Tossing women through glass, force-pushing knives. It's meant to be more antagonistic, more mean. But only a half measure via its very, very safe PG-13 aesthetic. We lose the weight of the moment.
No more half measures.
The Fog remake makes this more of a set piece, one with camera zip around, jump scares, and all the subtlety you'd expect in 2005. This scene is the metaphorical canary in the coal mine. It takes a simple yet effective part, extends it into a bigger moment while neutering any and all heart. Wainwright's remake relies too much on CGI, which wasn't quite there yet. So as much as this part wants to seem like it's smothering you with tension, the digital effects often come off as unconvincing and lame. These both were probably shot on sound stages, while this one looks like dog shit. I don't think the CGI is inherently bad here, but 2005 was not the time to fully lean in. The digital effects just often appear unconvincing and fail to capture the tangible menace of the original's practical fog effects. It tries to do more and ends up feeling like it did a lot less. And you lose some of the heart when you make the fog itself an antagonist.
Before we continue with our video, here's a reminder to click the Store tab on any of our JoBlo channels and browse our collection of the latest and freshest designs in our merch store. Go get you some.
Now sure, in the 81 version, it does affect machines, appliances and such, but Carpenter and Hill were wise enough to let the vengeful crew of the Elizabeth Dane be the true threat. Here the fog acts like the smoke monster without having the goddamn decency to add in some Michael Emerson.
He changed the rules.
It is whatever the script asks for. Anything and everything, the rules change constantly. I don't think the actors are terrible, honestly. But with a story that's, at best, a generic and surface level adaptation, everyone here is either bored, awkward, or both. Look at how Aunt Connie looks at Andy when he runs in. What are we doing here? And of course, replacing Tom Atkins with Tom Welling was always going to be an uphill battle. But regardless of Welling's accomplishments, this whole vibe reeks of WB casting, especially since Atkins had become more iconic in time. I mean, who needs a love potion when you have Tom Atkins' mustache? He's the movie equivalent of Robert Palmer. Maggie Grace tries her best, but can't do much with the material available. Alongside one of the dumbest endings, like, is she a ghost? Is she a lookalike? Is she cursed? I don't know. I don't even care. Though I did chuckle at this very brutal she can't drive moment in the movie. And don't get me started on Father Patrick Malone. This might actually constitute a hate crime. Nobody seemed to care, and even Carpenter fully admits that this entire thing was transactional. He was asked in an interview with IGN, "What's your role in this production?" "Well, I'm a producer, but I come in and say hello to everybody, go home, and I'm just a f***ing bum, okay?" I absolutely love him. In the end, the Fog remake commits the cardinal sin of being boring and flat. Remakes can work, even if they are unneeded, and they almost always are. Just look at The Hills Have Eyes or Dawn of the Dead. Listen, I'd prefer us to make new and engaging stories, of course. But if you have to, if you must remake, try and care. And most important of all, understand the source material.
Seems like the world is moving on. Didn't stop to look around. Didn't give a shit if you're crashing down. You can close your eyes but not your skin. Don't believe what you refuse to see. Won't find a way in. Well, I can't ignore a certain thing.